Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Soul Protocol. This is Inner Architecture for Changemakers, and I am Leah Evie, your host. If you heard my podcast from last week, that last week podcast for me was like 30 minutes ago because I'm recording 4 podcasts in one day so that I have a library of content to ship out to you while I travel for the next 4 weeks on my way from going here from this is what I mean. From where I am now to Thailand. I'm making like 5 stops. And so I needed a bunch of content saved up for that time. You're welcome. I love you. This is a testament to how much I love you because 4 podcasts in one day is a lot of talking to yourself, talking to a camera. Here we go. I'm excited about this one though, because this particular podcast is about miracles. And I feel really strongly about miracles because they changed the course of my life. When I was in my 20s, I had a very, like mediocre is not maybe a very nice word, but I had a very gentle spiritual life. I could call it stagnant spiritual experience through my 20s where I went to yoga classes that was philosophically interesting and sometimes challenging. I went to church every now and then with my parents. That was nice. I had my 2 babies in my 20s. So like some days I just survived and that seemed like enough. I wasn't necessarily trying to grow and thrive at the moment. I was trying to like go to the bathroom alone for 30 seconds. And that was my biggest accomplishment most days. But those miracles that happened to me in my early 30s broke something open in me. I got immensely curious about what this is. How do miracles work? Why do they happen? Why did they all of a sudden come at me in a tidal wave when I hadn't been experiencing anything extraordinary spiritually for years? And so I've done a lot of digging since then to figure out exactly how miracles work. It turns out there's all kinds of literature about it, which is fascinating. And the experience of miracles is pretty much consistent across cultures, which is not necessarily to say that everybody experiences miracles in the same way. But what it does say is that everybody experiences miracles for the same reasons. We experience miracles when we're in integrity, and we experience miracles when the divine has something to communicate. So I always trust these miracles now because they changed the course of my life. I'll tell you the story of one very fun miracle that happened to me. And this was after I had become aware of them. It was after my kind of initial induction into living with miracles. And so I knew what to look out for. But it always astounds me anyway. I'm just completely delighted every time one of these little things happens. So I would call this a synchronicity. I would call miracles sort of the broad umbrella of various phenomenal experiences. And this particular variety of phenomenal experience, I call a synchronicity. It synchronizes something the inside of you to the outside of you. It's a coincidence. Now, the thing is that most people write off coincidences. And you can probably think of a time that you wrote off a coincidence in your life. But coincidences are important because what they say is that your inner world in that moment is aligning with the reality of the outer world. Something there is telling you that there's truth in that alignment, that there's joy there, that there's wisdom there, There's something for you there that is going to help you evolve. All right, so the story. This is such a good one. I love this one. I'm gonna just love telling it. It's juicy. One day, I went into a restaurant, and I went by myself, and I was working on a contract. And as I was working on the contract, this very handsome man approached me, and he worked at the restaurant. And he asked what I was up to. I don't know. We did our little intros and laughed a little bit, bantered a little bit. And he was very fun, and he was obviously very joyful. And I kind of just had this magnetic quality to him. And then I finished my contract, finished my food, and I left. And then a couple of days later, a friend of mine came into town, and she said, "Hey, I want to get together with all the girls, and I have a place in mind. It's this place." And I was like, all right. I was literally just there, but it's a great restaurant. Let's go again. So we gather all the girls together. We show up at this place, and surprise, surprise, the man who works at the restaurant is at the restaurant again because he works there. And I'm like, oh, hey, you. How are you? You know, we start talking again, and we have our nice little chat. Nothing particularly crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. And I go home. And was it 2 nights later, I have a dream. And this man is in my dream. And in my dream, I'm walking down the aisle of in the stands of a football stadium. And as I'm like edging down, like through this, what do you call it? Somebody who knows sports, like where all the seats are. I'm sit down next to him. And as I turn and recognize him, both of us in concert say, "What are the odds?" And then the dream is over, right? The next day, a girlfriend of mine goes, "Hey, I'm going out with some girls. Do you want to come?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I do." We're at a rooftop, and the rooftop is so damn hot. Like, it's a summer evening. It is just, the heat is blaring. It's intolerable, and we decide we have to go somewhere else. So she takes charge, and she goes, "I know just the place." And she leads us right into this restaurant. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, ladies, I literally have been here 2 times already this week. I've seen the same man both times, and I had a dream about him last night. Like, this shit is getting a little weird. I'm not a stalker. Should we go somewhere else? Right? But I keep all those thoughts to myself because everybody else is like having a good time, and this is what they want to do, and they're excited to go here. And it kind of took a while to figure out where to go and all that. So I'm like, okay, here we are. Sure enough, this man is here at the restaurant again. And we start chatting again. Well, this time, as I'm leaving the restaurant, he chases me down. And I had, just in case, he approached me, written my name and number on a little card. And as he chases me down, as I'm walking toward the door, he goes, hey, I was wondering if I could get your number. And I was like, actually, you can. And as I'm taking out this card with my name and number on it, he is pulling out a card from his pocket with his name and number on it. And we literally simultaneously exchange numbers. And he says, "What are the odds?" And in that moment, I remembered that line from the dream. And I think my jaw hit the floor. I was like, "What did you just say?" And he's like, you know, I couldn't believe it. And I left, and I was like, what is this connection? Like, this feels really, this feels like something important. I need to pay attention to this. 3 times we run into each other in a week. And the thing with the name and numbers on the card. And the dream and the statement, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds? Seriously. So, as it turned out, even though he was very handsome and charming, we were not meant to be a couple, but we did become very good friends. And that moment in my life was another miracle. And I logged it away in my journal as such. Had another miracle again today, right? Synchronicities and coincidences are little miracles. And miracles, and this is what I really want to say, miracles are a natural byproduct of living without fear or resistance. They happen naturally, and when miracles are not present, something has gone wrong. This is from A Course in Miracles, by the way, which is a book that's about this thick. I didn't bring it with me today, but it is a fantastic book. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. I read about one. I'm not all the way through it because it's going to take me years. I read about one paragraph and then I sit on it for a few days and digest the paragraph that I've just read. But what she explains in the book is that miracles are meant to happen. Yes, they are fun and exciting. Yes, they're delightful, but they do not need to be special and they do not need to be rare. We can actually live a life that is full of miracles. So there were 2 signals in this little story I just told you that indicated that this was a true synchronicity. So first, something inside of me coincided with something outside of me. That coincidence was the dream, right? That coincidence was us both having our name and numbers on cards to share with each other. That was something that was indicating there's a connection here. And connection is a really interesting concept. Spiritual connection can also be called psychic connection, which bear with me for a second because this is not mind reading necessarily. Psychic is a word that actually comes from the Latin word for soul. So this is a connection that is of the soul, a connection that's of spirit, is a psychic connection. It's not necessarily strictly mental. Psychic connection happens when there is a genuine spiritual connection, which I believe spiritual connections come up when we have something to learn, when there's some way in which we're meant to grow. So the second way I knew that this was a real synchronicity, a real miracle, was the feeling that it evoked. It was a feeling of curiosity. It was a feeling of joy. It was a feeling of playfulness and wonder. Like, oh my God, is this really happening? This is crazy. This is crazy. That feeling is exactly the feeling we should be chasing. Wow, what is this? I'm so curious. I want to learn more about it. I want to dig in deeper. I'm intrigued. What's here? Why does this person come with all of these little coincidences? That emotional experience is in itself a signal that some little miracle is occurring. And if you are like me and this intrigues you, I have a 5-step protocol for inviting miracles. And if you're a skeptic and you're like, this is the weirdest shit I've ever heard, I dare you to try this 5-step protocol and see if something doesn't come alive for you. All right. Step 1, practice presence. You will not notice miracles if you are distracted. Absolutely must practice staying present to see what is really happening in front of your eyes. Okay. Step 2, resist nothing. If the night that my friend wanted to go into this restaurant for me the third time in that week, if I had said, girls, there's no way I'm going in there. I'm so sorry, but I'm afraid he's going to think I'm stalking him. This is too weird. We have to choose a different spot. I would have been resisting what they really wanted to do, and which in reality was fine with me. I do actually like this restaurant. I have no objection to showing up there except how I'm going to be perceived. But B, I would be resisting this interesting little pattern that the universe is offering me. Hey, would you like to go to this restaurant again? Have you ever been to the same restaurant 3 times in 1 week? No, I haven't. Would you like to try? Right? Kind of interesting. Resist nothing. You never know what's going to happen. Step 3 of our protocol. Re-narrate your mindset to believe that anything is possible here. If I had seen an attractive man and immediately thought to myself, ooh, this guy has to be my next boyfriend, that interaction probably wouldn't have gone very far. But having a mindset that said, well, anything is possible here, kept the doors open to literally anything being possible. And as it turned out, we continued our friendship for a long time after, and it was really dynamic, inspiring friendship where we both got to share a lot of what we learned spiritually, and we had these really rich, interesting conversations, all kinds of awesome things that came out of this friendship, which if I had decided, oh, this either has to be romantic or nothing, could never have been possible. All right. So keep that mindset. Anything is possible here. Number 4, tune into the details. So start paying attention to the little things. Start paying attention to the words someone uses. Start paying attention to this little urge that you have to write down your name and number on a card. Interesting. This isn't my standard procedure. I'll do it anyway. Just start paying attention to the details. And number 5, after you have witnessed a small miracle occur in your life or a very large miracle, celebrate the gift of the miracle. Anytime we see this patterning exist, it's because our inner and outer worlds are aligning, and this is a moment of victory for us. This is a moment where we've made it. If there's any outcome, if there is any real goal that we need to be striving for, which we can talk about striving another day, but if there is any noble outcome, it's this: a state where our inner world is reflected outwardly. What we feel, what we are, who we want to be inside is how we act as we go out into the world. And it's that alignment that invites miracles. So celebrate it when you get there. When you have these little juicy nuggets that come up, when you have these moments of victory, these little coincidences, go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back. All right. If this protocol inspired you to believe that anything is possible, I would love for you to share your gratitude by giving me a 5-star rating. Those really do go a long way, and so do follows and comments and all of the other engagement. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy that you're here. It is a joy to be hosting, and I love you so much. Have a wonderful week. I'm going to see you again next week i.e., in 20 minutes for me when I start podcast number 4 for the day. And let's see. Oh, you can get great content from me via my newsletter by signing up at evithhq.com. Have a good one. Love you. Bye.